Hi, my name is Tom and this is a review of my C8. I took delivery of the car in early March after ordering it from a dealer up in Michigan. It was courtesy delivery to an Austin, Texas dealership and everything went very smooth. It's pretty much a loaded car. It included Z51, mag ride, front end lift, carbon fiber interior, carbon fiber over the engine, and carbon flash mirrors and carbon flash rear spoiler. I really like the car. It reminds me of the 71 that I had. That car was Ontario orange and this car is Sebring orange. This is the LT2 engine. It's rated at 495 horse, which includes the NPP exhaust. You can tell by looking at the engine compartment. I did order the carbon accents that go over the exhaust manifolds on the right and left, and you can tell by the wires coming out of the shocks that is the mag ride suspension option. By the way, it's very highly rated. Many other automobile companies are licensing the mag ride technology from General Motors, and I really think it's a must-have. This is the rear trunk. It's rather large because it also has to hold the target top. You can actually fit a lot of groceries in here. I guess if you want to put groceries in here, you can. You can put 2 golf bags in there, but on my car, I'm not going to do that. Here's the trunk release. It's right underneath the letter E on the rear panel. When I push it, it pops open. When you open it, it opens so far. Very nice. Then if you want to have it open further, you can do that by pushing it up another few inches. Now, if you want to close it, the best way to do it is to pop it down and it pulls it back down in place, and now it's latched. You don't have to slam it or do anything like that. Here's the rear Stingray emblem. Stock is black. If you want chrome, you got to pay extra for that. I want to say a few words about the rear glass. It has a slot at the bottom for hot air to exit as you're moving along. It also has these side grills here, which are very good at exiting hot air that comes out of the engine compartment. People have complained about water getting in there. It's really not a problem. If you don't want water laying on the engine, you can put a couple towels under there if you're washing it. But what typically I do, I don't really hose this area down. A little bit of water gets in there, but what I do is just wipe it up with a towel. Not a problem. The other option I ordered was the 2LT, which is an upgraded Nappa leather interior. You can tell by the layout here, this is a brushed aluminum. It's pretty nice, but you know, the seat set buttons are pretty far back. I would have preferred them being up here. They're a little bit too far back. It's much easier if the buttons were somewhere up here. The other feature that I don't particularly like is the door lock, unlock, and door release button below. In the other C7, it was much more apparent. You have to kind of search around and fumble for this to get out of the car. The other thing is you got the release buttons here for the front trunk and the rear trunk. They're kind of hidden away. This storage compartment is kind of small, in my opinion. This is thick. This handhold here doesn't go all the way through like it does on the C7. It's really kind of a wasted space here. I really like the carbon fiber accents here. That's why I ordered it. Another element of the door is there's a speaker in here. I think is a subwoofer. It's downward firing, and the amount of space it takes up is quite extreme. You can tell by my fingers are touching the outside of the door, and here you can tell that it's a good 10 inches of door thickness. I wish it wasn't that thick. I'm going to open the door and show you how it all works. You can see that, you know, the window's up here, and then you have this side scoop trim that goes all the way out here. And when I park it in my workshop, it's a little more difficult to open the door and get out of the car because the door is so thick because of the side scoop trim. One of the things I added right after I got the car were these side skirt trim panels. Its texture is similar to the front end splitter. It's very easy to attach. It's got double-sided tape that attaches up here, and you have to drill 5 holes and rivet it to the bottom of the rocker panel. I think it's, because of the color, I think with the orange and the rest of the car, it's a nice feature. Okay, to get into the front trunk, this is how there's a button here underneath the bumper. Push on there, pops it open. Comes with a cargo net. If you get the 2LT, you get the cargo net. It's quite handy because you also got a little pocket if you want to put some drinks, or if you want to put any spray cleaners in here. There's also, I put a can of Pledge in here. I also have a place to put paint cleaner. The cigarette lighter adapter so you can charge the main battery, and the mandatory trunk release in case you lock your little brother in there. A lot of plastic up here to get to the main battery. This all pops out. This is your brake fluid, and this is your windshield wiper fluid fill, which in Texas you don't use very often. To close it, it's very simple. Just put it down. There, it's all latched. The splash guards, these are the splash guards you can buy directly from GM. The stock ones are flush with the body. These stick out a little bit, so you know it's going to catch more of the stones. Same thing on the back. Okay, here's the exterior mirrors. I got the optional carbon flash painted ones, and what's nice about these is this will flash with your turn signals. Also, it has a blind spot monitor you can kind of see. It's quite nice in that if a car's in your blind spot, it'll blink. Okay, I'm taking a picture of the radiator. Actually, this is the AC condenser, but I'm having some issues in the bugs get stuck in here. This is bright aluminum. You can see it. The grill is quite open, but the bugs kind of bend the fins, so I can imagine that. Remember, I only got 1,500 miles on it, and I have significant bending in the fins, so we're going to devise some kind of shield, a mesh, to reduce the amount of bug strikes on the AC condenser. This is a picture of the side glass. You can see I already have window tint. I got out of that immediately. But what's kind of, I don't know if you want to call it funny, but this back piece of glass is a dummy glass. You can't really see through it. It's just black. This is the GT2 seat with the suede seat inserts, which is optional. I really like the Nappa leather. I think it's smoother, and it's a higher quality feeling than the GT1 seats. Yes, here are the seat controls. Obviously, this is the backrest. This is the main seat up and down. But you also have controls that inflate the bolsters, the seat side bolsters, and the rear lumbar support. That's all controlled here. You also have a release here in case the battery goes dead and you can't get out of the car. You just flip this up, and that opens the door. This is the rocker panel. You can see there's quite a bit of width here, 8 or 10 inches. So some of the width increase over the C7, you can attribute this to the rocker panels. Ready?
Action.
One of the new features on the C8 are these vents that are very skinny, and here's your controls. They're like little joysticks that control the amount of air that's coming through here. I like this aluminum trim here. It's kind of coated with a clear plastic, so it doesn't feel like aluminum, but it's a nice little accent that goes here. The other thing I'd like to point out, here's your release for the glove compartment, and the glove compartment is quite large, much larger than on the C7, so you can really put a lot of stuff in the glove box. There's not a lot of storage here on the C8 compared to the C7. On the C7, you can throw stuff behind you. On the C8, you can't really do that. The storage on the doors is quite shallow. Again, not a lot of interior storage, and but I don't carry a lot in the car, so it's okay for me. There's been some reports about the stitching being crooked in this area, and I really don't see that to be a problem on my car. You've probably read about problems with the stitching. There's a little bit of not really a problem, but some of the stitching may not be perfectly straight, but I find it perfectly okay. A little bit of an optical illusion because this panel kind of goes straight here, then takes a turn over here. So people look at this as being crooked, and I really think it's part of just an optical illusion. You do see a little bit of crookedness in the stitching, but it doesn't really bother me.
Action.
I want to talk a little bit about the dashboard. You can see this is probably for the airbag, and over here you have a speaker in there. There's a lot of stuff going on here on the dashboard. You can see it's elevated. There's a speaker there. There's a tan accent here. There's this grill here, another grill up here, another little accent piece here, which, I guess it's attractive. I really don't know. And another little pop up here for a speaker over here, and of course I got a heads-up display. There's a lot of things going on this dashboard that you haven't really seen on past Corvettes.
Action.
This is the so-called wall of buttons. It's okay. I'm not a big fan of it. I mean, they could have done something that didn't really stick up this far. You have to get used to it. Some of the features on here are also available on the infotainment screen, so it's kind of duplicated. I would have preferred something that didn't have, this design where it was more integrated into the panel up here. But it is what it is.
Action.
Hi, this is the suede steering wheel. That's an option. This is the suede steering wheel. It's an option that we chose. It's quite comfortable. The square wheel is kind of an imitation of the NSX, but it's nice. You get used to it. Being flat on the bottom gives you more leg room. I'm not quite sure you need all this flat at the top, but it's fine. It's a nice, different design feature. Ready?
Action.
Here's the shifter mechanism. You got park, reverse, neutral, drive, and if you want to go into the manual, you do that. Over here, you can turn off the direction control. You have your front end lift feature, and if you don't have that option, you only have 2 buttons. And you have the front camera feature, which we'll get into the details later on that. This is your This is your mode switch. And frankly, I'm not a big fan of this little cover on here. You kind of got to reach around it to change the mode selection. And so to me, it's kind of irritating. You really can't take it off. Hi, this
Action.
This is a cup holder. I think it's a much better cup holder than the C7. The C7 had this centerpiece that kind of flopped around and you could take it out. This one's quite nice. It's quite deep and it's quite big. So I think it's a much improvement over the C7 cup holder.
Action.
This is the new feature with the mirror with the camera in it. If you flip it down, it's a regular mirror. If you flip it up, it's now the
Action.
This is the new feature with the mirror with the camera in it. You can see right now it's just a regular old mirror. If you flip it up, it's a camera screen. What's nice about it is you also have a button here that you can kind of control the brightness of it. If you press it again, is a magnification, so you can use a button over here to increase the magnification. I have it at the maximum right now, but if I want to reduce the magnification, let's go to magnification, you just press the minus here, and of course it's not working. Oh, that's the maximum. We have to do this again. Hi,
Action.
This is the rear view mirror. It's got a nice little feature. By flipping it this way, it's just a regular old mirror, just like traditional. And if you flip the lever here, now it becomes a camera. You also have some control switches here on the bottom. You have brightness, and you can control the brightness with 2 buttons here. You have magnification, and you have location, where the location you can go up and you can go down with the screen. So there's a lot of features here with this rear view mirror. The problem I have is I need reading glasses. And when it's this close, I can only see it clearly with reading glasses, where if I'm in the regular mirror mode, my regular distance glasses work fine. Yeah, some of the
Action.
One of the features you'll see is this natural leather here, and on the passengers area. If you're not wearing polarized sunglasses, it really reflects off the windshield, and which kind of makes you required to wear polarized sunglasses to get rid of that. Some of the cars, the natural dip, all this is the light colored natural leather, and so the reflection off the windshield is pretty severe. So you're really forced to wear polarized sunglasses. Okay.
Action.
One of the features in the C8 is all the buttons for the controls of the AC system in the seat heater and the seat fan. Affectionately, it's called the wall of buttons. While it is unusual and it is functional, I really would like to see something that's a lot simpler. Also, what it does is you no longer have a hold or a handle for the passenger to hold on to, like on the C7. And so my passenger has complained a little bit that there's really no place for them to hold on to.
Action.
One of the features for the C8 here are the seat buttons that are pretty far back, and it's really kind of awkward. I can't really reach them without my elbow hitting the back of the seat here. So I almost am forced to use my right hand over here to punch the different seat controls. Earlier I talked about the door release of the door lock and unlock, and as I said earlier, they're in a different position than they are on previous Corvettes, and if the passenger is trying to get out for the first time, they have trouble locating these buttons, and you have to tell them to kind of look below the armrest. And a lot of times when I go to release it, I have to kind of look and bend down to be able to see and push the right buttons. I mean, the buttons are high quality. It has a good feel and touch to it. I like the bezels around them. It does feel good, but I wish it would have been a little bit more obvious, especially on the passenger side.
Action.
The steering wheel features are pretty dramatic change from previous versions. You still have the radio control buttons, the volume, and your station control in the same spot. Cruise control is a little bit different. Here's your on button. The set is you got to roll it down, and to the resume is up, and to accelerate you push up. So it's a little bit different here. The Z mode button, I'll get into the details on that. That's a neat programmable feature. So rather than reaching over and doing your mode control here, you can pre-program it, and I'll show you in a minute how to do that. But if you punch your Z button, it's I have it set up for all the race functions. You punch it, it lights up red, and the dashboard display also changes to what you've programmed.
Action.
Okay, one of the key things that you want to do is look at your settings. Let's go to the settings. Okay, let's go to up here. I'm going to go to vehicle. Okay, here's how you program your Z mode. Okay, I have the sound set to track, which means the NPP valves are open. Steering is, I get 3 settings: tours, sport, and track. I have it set up for track. Suspension, because I have the mag ride, I have the 3 settings here. I have it set up as toughest or the most firm, and so it's track. powertrain, optimizes characteristics of the throttle, engine response, etc. I have it set up for track. So, and let's go down here. Your steering, suspension, powertrain, brake response. Now the brakes, I've heard, or people describe them as brake by wire. That is technically not correct. It is the brake boost is by wire, but you still have the hydraulic brakes. And that's it for the Z mode.
Action.
One of the features I really like is My Mode. Previous versions of the mode selection, you had weather, tour, sport, track. My Mode gives you the ability to program it, similar to the Z mode, but My Mode, you may want to use that in every day the way you drive it. Here I have most of it set up for sport, but I do like my suspension set up for tour, for everyday around town activities. Again, you have your full selection. You know, the exhaust sound, your NPP, I've set that not at the track mode, which is wide open. I have it as sport, which gives you some variability. So the way you get into, I'm going to show you how to get into the track My Mode. I'm going to flip out of this. So I have My Mode all set up the way I like, Z mode set up, but here I'm going to show you, I'm going to flip completely back to the home screen. The way you get into My Mode, right now I'm in Z mode. I'm going to take that off. Okay, this little symbol down here indicates it's in the factory tour mode. So now I'm going to switch into what I call My Mode. See, My Mode. So you don't have to run around with the factory setting of tour. You can set your own customized My Mode for your everyday activity, and which I think is a big step forward in the way you set the car up.
Action.
Okay, right now I have it set up to display the oil pressure, economy trend, and we'll get into more detail on that. But I like the fact that I have a temperature with a numeric value, okay, digital, and it shows kind of a gauge structure for the coolant temp. I get 1,600 miles even on it. But the fuel gauge, which I particularly like, rather than looking at a needle at a scale, because if you look at the C7, both the temperature and the fuel levels are big gauges. They take up a lot of real estate. I really like this because I don't have to look at the gauge and figure out how far I got. It's displaying all the time how many miles till I'm empty. I think that's a big step forward in making it really easy to understand what's going on with your fuel level.
Action.
Okay, I have it set now to record the 0 to 60. I'm not going to do a 0 to 60 right now, but you can change the display over here quite easily. You go to the steering wheel, okay, there's a button here, okay, and it's a little scroll button, and I can do a lap timer if I'm on a track, and I can set up where you start and finish on a lap. This is the G-force, and again, I'm just using the little thumb wheel to go between all the performance settings. That's your G's, you know, up, down, left, right. And it flips back to the performance timer. Now to switch to the next mode, these are all your trip functions. Trip 1, distance, speed, and fuel economy. Go to the next one. I got 2 trips, okay. That's trip number 2. And here's my fuel economy, which to me is a step forward versus the C7 and how that was done. Trip timer, time and fuel used. The current drive cycle, I think, is a new feature. It's based on when you start the engine. So if you start the engine and go for a long trip, it automatically tracks your distance, fuel economy, and time for that particular drive cycle. And it rolls back to trip 1. I'm going to flip back here. Nope, that doesn't work. Goes to the performance. And then we get the traditional audio functions. I can go from different Sirius XM. I have it Sirius XM, so that's what I can switch between the various channels on that. Here's your maintenance, how much oil and transmission fluid. This is the section that is really kind of new, where you can configure how you want the display to be set up. So we'll get into that with the next cycle. Alright, this part of my video is going to be talking about the right side, all the way you can configure that. We're going to start out in trip computer mode, and the way you can change this is from the steering wheel buttons. You have a left arrow or right arrow. In the thumb wheel, you can roll it up or down, and to select something you would push in on the thumb wheel. So right now, let's go back to the start. It starts out, your first screen is your trip 1, that's a trip computer, distance, speed, and fuel economy. Trip computer number 2. Then fuel economy, you know, the average last 15 miles, the best. Timer, you have a trip, you can, when you start a trip, it'll start the time and fuel used. In this case, in my total of 1,600 miles, I've used 89.4 gallons. Current drive cycle, which I think is kind of is new. It restarts every time you start the motor, and it tells you how far you've gone, how much your fuel economy in the time. I've been idling here for 14 minutes. Okay, so now we've gone through all the trip computer function, and you can see all the different functions by those little lights there. So we're going to go to performance, audio, maintenance, options, and we'll talk about that. And then to simplify, hey, if you're just overwhelmed and you want, hey, just simplify the display, watch what this does. And I'll press in on the thumb wheel, and everything goes away, and it's just very simple. You get a speedometer, miles per hour, and I'm in park. So if you're driving a trip at night, you don't want to see all that other information displayed, you can put in simplify mode, and it's very easy to read. Okay, let's get out of this. I'm going to back up options. We already kind of went through the maintenance schedule. I'm going to roll the thumb wheel. It says how many, and I'm on maintenance, see the little light, it says how many revs, how many hours, idle hours. Here's how much oil life I have, transmission, revs, etc. So I kind of cycles through here. I already talked about the audio. You can change all the channels, pushing the button. Actually, you use the thumb wheel to roll to the different channels. I think that's kind of neat. Let's go back here. Let's go to options. The tire pressure in units. Okay, it says press the check button, which is the little scroll wheel. You push in on that, that's what the check is. It'll relearn for 5 seconds. You gotta hold it, press for 5 seconds, okay, to relearn the process. Okay, so the tire pressure learning is done. Okay, press check to dismiss. Okay, I'm going to go to the next one. I'm going to back up, go heads up display. This is kind of cool. You're not going to be able to see it, but you can change the angle of the heads up display, because in the past the people have complained it's kind of at an angle. So now you're able to use the thumb wheel to change that. I'm going to back up. key remote learn. I'm not going to go through that, but that's available. Units. We're US. You can change it to metric if you want. Speed warning. Nobody wants that. Let's go back over here. Info tile. Heads up. Display design. You can change what information is being displayed over here. In this default, I have it set up to, hey, I want everything displayed as tour, but you can change that. Link to driver mode. I like that. You can link it to driver mode. You can do, hey, just freeze it in on tour no matter what mode I'm in. Sport, track, weather. Okay, so I'm going to link it to drive mode because, you know, that's my particular way that I like to have it displayed. A press check, which is really the scroll wheel. You got to press in on that to confirm. So right now I have it set to, because I'm in my mode, it's set to those to be done. Tile select, that's really a cool feature that's new. Deselect all info on tiles. All right, I'm going to do that. So now I got a blank screen to fill it in. So what do I want to be displayed on that? Battery, electronic limited slip differential coupling, instant fuel, lateral G's, oil pressure. I like the oil pressure up here. To me, that's important. So then I go to the next one. Now I got oil temperature, tire status. I kind of like, in this example, I like to show that right there. So basically I got two windows I can play with to do that. So I can go back here, I can say, okay, I don't like what I just did, let me just deselect, and I'm right back to what. Do I want battery voltage? Nah, maybe. Instant fuel economy, yeah, that's kind of useful. Lateral G is fun. Tire status, transmission fluid temperature, that's all fun. So that's, you know, all within the My Mode selection. All right, so what I said earlier was on the infotainment screen, I set up the suspension, the brakes, the steering, and all those functions. And so and I did it for My Mode and Z Mode. So on My Mode here, I set up, I want the oil pressure displayed here, I want the tire pressure displayed here, it says it's cool, and I want performance, and I want to show the G. Now, that's all changeable right here on the steering wheel with this control system. So at any time I want to change what's on the display, I can use this to change it. Right now I'm sitting in performance showing the G, but if I use the scroll wheel, I can do my 0 to 60. Now the other thing about 0 to 60 is there is a way, let me think. You can set it up 0 to 60, what's a start speed? We've got it set for 0, but you can set it to any speed you want. And the end speed, you can set that to anything you want. So I'm going to press start speed, and I can use the scroll wheel to scroll to whatever start speed I want. Let's set it back to 0. And I'll press the scroll wheel again to say, yeah, I confirmed it's 0. And I can go to the end speed. And again, it's set at 60, but if I want to set it to 100, I can do that. I'm going to set it back to 60. So that's a pretty cool feature, because sometimes people want to do rolling starts. So right now it's set up to that. Now the fastest I've gotten is 2.9 seconds. I did that the other day. And you know, the launch, I have to say, is pretty violent. It really launches hard. Because of the weight distribution, there's very little wheel spin.
Action.
Okay, we've been sitting here for quite a while, and just sitting here idling, and it's got a system that says, hey, if you've been sitting here a while it's going to shut down in 5 minutes, going to turn off. That's a good feature because one day I accidentally started it in the garage by pushing a button on the remote and the key fob, and the engine started and I didn't expect it. So rather than running all night and gassing everybody, it will shut down. I'm going to hit to dismiss that. I want to talk a little bit on these 3 buttons here. One is the heated steering wheel. I guess if you lived up north, that's important. If you hit it, the light comes on. You got to, and it heats up really fast. This is your cell phone. You want to talk, initiate a call here. You want to hang up. That's all standard stuff. We won't go through that. This is the infotainment screen, and there's a couple of nice features I like about it. Number one, they still have your radio volume control, a real knob. So I like that feature. The other thing is the home screen. If you get all screwed up on where you are in this system, you hit the home, boom, you'll come right back to here. In this case, it flips back and forth between the audio. There's your different functions. I haven't played with users, so I'm not going to comment about that. I already talked about this. Here's the various apps. I've used the CarPlay, and that's a pretty cool system. I think I've pretty much gone through everything on here. I've never gone into this. You can set these up, turn that off, that's on. Park assist, you can turn that on or off. I like it on. Go back here. Cross traffic, I like that. I leave that on. So you flip out of here. Comfort and convenience. Chime volume, you can change the volume of the chime. Your reverse tilt. I had it on initially, but I've turned it off. I mean, that's really a choice of the owner, what they want to do. Remote folding, I've never really played with it. I may play with that next and to see if I should do that. I haven't had a need for that. So that's pretty much this model. I'm going to go back to home because that's real cool. And if you got Apple CarPlay, people that have it are familiar with it. You plug your phone into the cable. It's not wireless, and you can do Apple CarPlay. I don't have an Android phone, so I have no comment on that. You swipe it, you got OnStar. PDR is very, very cool. Okay. You can vary your what the overlay is. I have it set to track, so it sets everything. Lap timing, if I was on the track, that would do that. In this case, my storage is full. Let's see, recordings. I probably should, because the dates on here, those are the most recent ones. I probably should delete some of these old ones. Settings. I have it set up to automatically record. Okay, video quality. You do have options on what quality video. Of course, it depends on the size of your card. The higher the resolution, the more, or the bigger card you're going to need. Software information, that's just probably things that we don't care about. SD card information tells me what size. I have a 32 gig card in there. Card speed doesn't really say, but this I guess you can go up to a bigger card. I don't know.
Action.
One of the cool features is you got cameras front and back. So if you punch that, it shows here's the front, and it shows that my wheels are turned to the right. So I'll straighten my front wheels out, and you have different scenarios here. Is that's pretty much straight on in the back. That's more of a wide angle in the back. You can touch and magnify plus or minus here, and this is a little bit confusing, but it shows left, right, and straight ahead. And if you use backup, let's go back here. Let's go to the backup. This shows you can add the lines to help back up if you start turning your wheel. So that's kind of neat. Let's go back here and see. Okay, here's the SD card that goes in to do the recording. It's in the glove box area. If I can find the hole, yeah, there's slots there. Boom, it's in. Close the door. So now it's pretty much loaded. Now in this case, I've just run it continuously, and it's full up. I guess I haven't got it set up to go into a looping mode, and I'll have to figure out how to do that. Let's see if I can do that. I can do that manually. So I can just maybe kind of delete. Yes, I want to delete that. So now I got 7 minutes left. I want to go back. I'll figure out how to do it in a looping mode so it's done continuously, so I don't have to worry about it. But it is pretty cool. Let me go up here. Let's go to the latest recording and see if it plays it. There it is. I'm pulling out of my workshop. You can see the information's displayed. Speed, throttle, brake. Whoops. RPM, G's. Yeah, I have a pretty tight to get out of my garage. Here's the steering angle. In this case, I have it set in tour mode, and I've gone 0 miles. Yeah, here's the PDR mode that I want to go in and explain how that all works. So right now it's set up to automatically start recording when the engine starts. The overlay, you can pick various functions you want it to be displayed. And if I was doing track, we can do track timing. Right now I have all these recordings, and right now on this SD card, 32 gig, I only have 7 minutes left. Let's go to settings. You can set it up choose whether or not you want the PDR to start automatically when the vehicle starts. I have it yes or no. And here's configure. Now this is cool because you can say valet only or allow recording override. So that kind of goes in a loop fashion, so you constantly have something on recorded. So you don't have to worry about deleting old recordings. All right, here's a PDR recording. Now I have it paused right now while we started our recording, and I'm gonna show. Okay, I could delete it. I could play it, and here's. I'm already a minute 54 into it. I started it earlier. This is a 28-minute recording. That's your steering wheel angle. I'm in my mode, and there's the miles per hour leaving the driveway. Here's the gas brake. I'm in first gear. Let's play it. Now I have it set up. You have the option to have it with or without sound. So I have the sound, which I was playing the radio. All right, I'm going to turn the sound down. Leaving my neighborhood. As you can see, the resolution is very good. Yeah, I'm not going to play this for 28 minutes, but this is set up to do automatically. All this is done. Very, very, very easy to use.
Action.
Okay, I just started the engine. Okay, I'm going to put it in gear. I'm going to put it in drive. Now the paddle shifters, watch what happens when I change the paddle shifters. Nothing. You have to be moving. Well, I don't have the seat belt on. Yeah, the performance timer is working, but you can ignore that for the time being. Okay. The front end lift is activated. Now the little square up there says, what the speed limit is for the road that you're on. I'm going to put my seatbelt on, and you got to put your seatbelt on.
Action.
All right, I'm going to start it. I'm pulling out of my driveway. Vehicle's raising because I have it set automatically raise at the beginning of my driveway. I'm going to put it in drive, and the 0 to 60 timer is starting. I'll have to shut that down. Okay. Now the DCT transmission shifts very fast. I'll demonstrate that in a minute. It says I'm in drive and I'm in second gear. If you really hammer it, boy, first gear is over like within a second. It's very quick. I'm going to paddle shift here. I'm going to downshift. See how quick it does that? I mean, it shifts instantly. Stop. I don't think I should do what I'm doing.
Sure you could.
Hold on.
It's already...
You got a program to do it?
Yes!
That's crazy.
Okay.
Nope, I don't have it right. I gotta put it in drive.
That helps.